All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of agenda changes and additions. Krista, is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approval of the minutes. A, consider the approval of the minutes of school board meeting from February 16th, 2022.
I'll make the motion.
Carl, is there a second? Second, Krista. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consider the approval of minutes of school board public listening session from March 7th, 2022. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item 5, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
No motion except for D.
Oh, I was like,
No, I just hate to see her go. I just hate to see her go.
Oh, okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I got you, Kristen. Oh, same way. Yep.
Oh.
No, I
Good for
agree.
her, but oh.
I know. Community reports, highlights and recognitions.
So on here, I have the congratulations to our winter sports teams. Fantastic season, actually on the court as well as in the classroom. Just want to point out, I'm still awaiting the boys GPA from Pacelli, but the girls, 17 letter winners, 15 of them made academic all conference. The average GPA was a 3.69, which is the highest in girls basketball for the last 4 years. So.
That's really good.
So that was and they had, not a lot of numbers this year and
Yeah.
they did well. And then the boys, Carl, the boys did a fantastic job. So, and then the other thing I want to add again is to, reiterate with Nicole. I mean, 3 years she's been here. Can't remember. She's done a great job here and, she'll do well at the next school that she's going to. It's closer for her to drive and so we wish her the best. So,
It's a tough one to lose.
yep.
It is.
Yep.
It is.
Was that it, Jamie?
Mhm.
Okay. Any public comments? Were you
I
contacted
have
by
not.
anybody?
And no one.
School board committee updates, negotiations committee.
We have been notified that the MSEA group wants to meet, but hasn't been anything else since that.
Legacy committee. We're gonna, Julie's gonna try and set something up for next week. So more, but we will be having dads and donuts coming up on April 1st.
Did you hear how the movie went?
We didn't, that didn't happen, did it?
I was
No.
on vacation.
Yeah, no, that did not happen because there was just there were too many conflicts. Just couldn't get it in, so we'll keep looking for a night that works. Community ed.
We just got done with another meeting. We have some stuff set up, a couple of events at Birds. We're gonna do a couple of twins games this summer.
I thought I was posted in my paper.
That was all good. And then we're gonna have Rad Zoo come in May and again in August. They'll bring different stuff each time. Looking at a couple of other ideas that were kind of thrown out there, and so there'll be more to come. Also discussed the summer strengthening. So we're working on that along with maybe some different library programs this summer. So more to come.
You mentioned twins game. Okay,
Finance committee.
have not met.
LPAC.
I don't think we-
We have not met, no. No, just, I mean, gearing up for spring sports, so,
We haven't had a formal.
right. No. Okay, facilities committee.
We met yesterday. Couple things we went over. We will avoid any more power outages at the bus garage. So if we ever have an issue, we can bring down a generator, and we got that taken care of. So, and then we discussed some of the wish list things that were put in, including the crow's nest, the storage, lack of storage, and what else we can do in that situation. And then just the bus garage phase 2, and looking at possibly just trying to find out what it costs to do the landscaping around here, just to fix some of those things up. So right now, just looking at bids.
All right, library committee.
We met the last school board. I was trying to see, like, did we meet the same day or was it the day after?
I think it was it the
It was
same day? Yeah.
So
Remember the survey we were talking about doing? It was finalized tonight after the community ed one. So that's on the Lyle school Facebook page and the Lyle area Facebook page for people to just take a quick survey. So that's out. So please share it and take it.
Awesome. Okay. SMEC board.
Our next meeting is in March.
All right, financial report.
All right. Well, with Bradley gone, I'm not even going to attempt to replicate what he usually goes through, but try to figure out how to share this. There we go.
Share screen.
Oh, yeah. I'll do what he usually does is zoom in, which doesn't usually do a lot of good. We're on track for both revenues and expenditures. I don't know exactly what you guys are doing. Is there any questions? Because
He said to
yeah.
call out, so we can get out for everything.
The other stuff, I mean, any questions on the payments?
No.
And the credit card stuff, a lot of these concession items that were purchased, things like that. So
Anybody have any questions on the?
I'll make a motion to accept, to approve everything.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Reports, presentations. A, SMEC, update and financial audit report. Dan?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me down. Here's an official book copy. Hey, how you doing? Seeing you in person.
Yeah.
There we go. There's two in there. There you go. You guys have a copy at all?
Thank you.
All right.
Sure.
So looking at it each year, Smith Schaefer does our audit. I think it's similar to same firm that does yours. We bid them out all together. They present the audit to our spec board, and then they also present the audit to the spec cabinet, which is made up of our superintendents. Then you guys get me to come around to each one of the boards and go through the financials here. So that's what I'll do, and then afterwards I'll give a brief update. Most of the stuff I include in my spec memo. I didn't send one out this month because I figured I'd be here talking about it anyways. So if you look at the start of the audit, just page 2, we were given a clean opinion. That's the best we can hope for, so that's all good. We didn't get any citations or any naughty warnings for doing stuff incorrectly, so we're happy about that. So that's good. When we look at our revenues continue to grow. If you look at what we were at in 2020, we were about at that $6 million mark. When we look at 2021, we're at that $7 million mark. About $1 million growth that year, $1 million the year before, about 600,000 the year before that, $1 million before that. So again, as we add programming, as we add staffing, as we continue to grow, revenues also grow. Federal had stayed consistent since the time we started the co-op onward. Wish that number would go up, but it has not. But all in all, it's doing what it needs to. Remember, when we use our federal dollars we use for staff development. That's all of our staff. Level 1, level 2, level 3. That means your resource room teachers here. We bring them in, provide training. We pay for their time to come in. We do a curriculum cycle, not just for level 3 programs or level 4 programs, but level 1 and level 2. So your teachers come back, they have curriculum. If they need more curriculum, they come in and get it. We have a warehouse that we keep curriculum. That is something that we use, that we buy for Lisle, Grand Meadow, Leroy, all of our districts. The reason that we do that is because we want them using research-based interventions, curriculums, and we want consistency. If you're moving from a SMEC level 3 program back to Lisle level 2, we want to be able to slide over that curriculum with the students so that they don't miss because they're moving between districts. All those curriculums we purchase, we also train all of your staff in those trainings when we look at it. So a big part of that budget is curriculum and staff development. The other portion of federal funds is admin salaries, such as myself. When we use federal dollars to pay for that, that's something that doesn't get billed back to you guys as a district, so it reduces everyone else's costs. The other big one is mileage. When you look at mileage, we don't want one of our member districts getting punished and paying a higher rate because they're in Alden and the provider, our vision teacher, is way over in, let's say, Grand Meadow. So the mileage is covered by us. So when you get a bill for services, you're just getting the time for the services. You're not getting that mileage bill. I think people forget that when we talk about the federal funds and how it's used for. So I want to make sure I'm clear there. When we look at state revenues, that's the revenues that we get in from the state. When we look at special ed, we get a certain amount of revenue, usually about 60% for each one of our staff that we hire. So if I have a vision teacher, got 60% of that coming back in state aid. If I get a LD teacher or anyone else, we're getting that money back in state aid. So as we hire additional staff, your revenues go up for that staff. Also, when you have increased numbers of students, increased students equals increase in revenue. So those are the two things that really controls our revenue when it comes to that state aid side of things. That's the other one. And then the last one is others. Others has stayed, I would say, pretty consistent. That others is going to be what we bill out to other districts. So that's going to be things like services that we provide to you as a district. So you guys purchase speech, OT, PT, vision, deaf and hard of hearing, all those services that if you were going to Mayo Clinic or somewhere to do that, you pay big money. With us, you pay costs. And that's what we bill out to you. Now, if you're not part of our district, we make money on that. So we're going to add at least 10%, depending on where it is. That 10% that comes back over, I use that money to send the next person to school. The reason that we're able to keep people that we have is because we take them as paras. We pay for them to become teachers. Teachers, we pay for them to become specialists. If I'm paying for you to go back to school, you sign a contract that you stay with us for 5 years. So even though there's bigger co-ops around and they have better contracts that they can offer, we're able to keep our employees because we sent for them to go back to school. Now, after that 5 years, now it's a little bit of a tougher sell. And that's where I have to have a good contract to pull people and keep people. But until then, we're able to keep our staff around. We always have the person doing the job and the person being trained to do the job. In the other, you're also going to see the bills that we send for the ALC. So that's where you see that little bit of an increase in the 2020 and 2021. We opened that ALC. The ALC, the districts that where the resident district is the district that gets the revenue for that student, we have to bill them to get the revenue back. So it comes in as that other resource because we're billing there, and that's a large chunk of change there. Also, we charge access fees. So if you're coming into one of our level 4 programs, we'll charge an access fee if you're not a member district. We made about 70,000 on that alone this year that we're able to put right towards the bond payment. Any questions on the revenue sides of things? All right, the next one is general activity. 2020, I came to the board, and of course, we had a hiccup. You can see that $23,000 that we had in the hole there wasn't a good year for us. We had switched things over with our business manager. We had some issues with our bond payment. That was a year that we didn't have the revenue, the cash flow to make our bond payment, had to borrow from districts in order to do that. That was a year that we had a lot of problems making our payroll. A lot of this had to do with the cash flow, cash on hand that we had in the bank. It was enough to barely make payroll, even though it said that we had more coming, it just, the money wasn't there. We made a lot of changes that year. One of the things I wanted to notice, and this came up at the Grand Meadow meeting yesterday, was, well, man, you look pretty good. You go from $23,000 in the hole to almost $1 million surplus. Yeah, that does look pretty good. And it was supposed to, because of what we've done. We billed out our bond payment the way that we're, it said in our joint power. So that was $400,000 that it brought in that typically we're sending back to pay that. When you look at that, we also froze our expenditures. If you look at our expenditures from 2020 to 2021, we froze them. And I would say we froze them to the detriment of our students, our staff, and the others in the building. We didn't order curriculum that year. We had to make do with what we had. Our staff that had placed orders didn't get them until didn't get them that year. Our testing materials we had to order, staff development we had to turn down. We turned down a lot of stuff in order to correct what we had there. We had openings in our positions. I didn't fill the business manager position. I took that role on for a year. Not an easy role. It was a pain in the butt. I learned a ton. I'm better for it, but that was also a savings that was reflected in this. We had an admin assistant that we did not replace. We had several other general ed positions that we didn't replace. So when you look at that, basically that surplus that year, yep, that was for 1 year. Now that we know that we're safe and we're doing it, you're not going to see that every year. But again, I want to make sure that's in place and just point that out. If you have questions, do you have questions on that? Do I see us continuing to have a surplus? Yeah. Do I see it being that large? No. The next one is our general fund balance. Another one, when you look at it in that 2020, one of the ways that we were making those bond payments and sending that money over was we were using a lot of our restricted funds. That is kind of a no-no, and was kind of taken out of some of our other programs and using it towards that. So this year in 2021, I had the auditor make sure that like the ALC funds was in a restricted account. The money that comes in for those students needs to be used on those students. Looking at it, these are some of the kids that need more support and have been failing in your districts. You guys are signing. We don't recruit, and anyone that comes over has to have either this one signature or that one signature in order for them to come over. And when they come over, again, it takes a lot to get them where they need to be. So I want to have the revenue there to purchase the computers, the curriculum. A lot of our stuff is more hands-on. So when we do a building project or working on an engine, I want to be able to have the resources to do that without coming back to you as member districts and asking for you guys to fund the ALC that we're running. So in order to do that, I need a restricted account so that when I have the revenue and I need to hire another teacher, the money's there. This is a one account where our funding is really based on the number of students, like your budgets are. In special ed, the more you spend, the more revenue comes in. It goes together. Like I was talking about, if I hire a teacher, I get 60% of it. Now, if I hire another teacher, our revenue goes up. Now with an ALC, it's like yours. You got X number of students, you get X amount of dollars. It don't matter how much you want to spend. This is the money you get. And that's where with the ALC, I want to build up that revenue. So now we can hire a new teacher. Like I said, last year we did a freeze on the general ed expenses. We need another teacher, probably 2 more paras for the services for the kids we had. And we didn't hire anyone. We had 1 teacher for that group of kids of 60 and 2 paras. So again, have to make sure that we right the ship there. The other restricted would be your compensatory education, your MA dollars, and then your debt service. That debt service money, there's $200,000 in there. That money will go directly to pay off the bond payment on our last payment. That $200 comes out, pays that portion of it. The green is your assigned funds. When we first started the building project, all of us put in $100,000 in order to work on the facilities. So if anything happens, we have that money to go back to. And then the last part there is your unassigned fund balance. That's at 23%. When you look at that, that's money that comes in through our level 3 and level 4. You get a little bit of general ed aid that goes to that. We get the access fees that I told you about that goes right to that bond payment. Then selling services out. Like I said, with that revenue, I use that to send people back to school. With that 23% fund balance, or with that 23%, anything above our fund balance, what we did is we put it into a committed fund that goes right to the bond payment. So if you turn the page, the building and construction funds, that's really saying the money that came in has been spent, the building's done, that fund's done. If you look at page 7, it shows the same thing, 3,287,000 that we had, 19,268 in 2021 zero. So we zeroed that account out, spend what we had. When you look at certificates of participation, that's our bond payments. You look at 19, there's that 4,460,000. That's cost of our building. See 2020, it drops down to 4,200,000. 2021, 4 million. So we're kind of chipping away at that bond. Now, if you look at page 9, this is where it shows what we're paying into the future. When you look at the blue, that's the principal. When you look at the green, that's your interest. Now, what we have done with the board is we set up what's called a committed fund. And that committed fund is where we put any money over our fund balance, and we put any money that we get from access fees. So now when we looked into it, and in 2026 is the first time that we can pay forward on our bond payments before they're due. So in that committed fund, that's going to grow each year so that we can apply that money directly to the bond payment in 2026. Got a pretty good chunk of change in there, and it'll continue to grow as we do. So there we go. Thank you, Carl, for helping out on that. Next one is our net pension liabilities. The more staff we have, the more.
I didn't make the motion.
You did.
Sounds good.
The liabilities, the more staff we have, the more liabilities we're gonna have. When you look at 2018, you're like, man, you got a lot of staff in 18 and dropped it down to 19. In 18, what happened when we did our summer programming, our SMEC Academy, our reading camps and math camps, we put everyone that we hired for the summer onto our payroll. That's a huge mistake. So now when they're a member of the district, you guys would still keep them on your payroll, and then you will bill us for it and we'll pay you back. If there's someone coming back from college or something like that, we'll put them on ours. But there was too many liabilities. This was one with the COVID restrictions. They were look at that. It looks like we have double the staff that we have. But again, we continue to grow. Like I said before, we're able to meet the needs of all of our students. We have a full continuum of service when it comes to staffing, including a physical therapist. And when it comes to programming levels 1, 2, 3, 4, birth to 21. So continue to do well there. So in summary, looking at it, this was a good year for us. Fund balance went up to 23.4%. When we look at our fund balance. It talks about some of the reasons why I want a larger fund balance. Again, I went to the board, asked for 25%. The board said, "Who, slow down, Dan. You have 15%. We'll agree to 20. 25, we're not saying no, but we're saying that you need to take your time and we need to take our time to grow that. You don't get it all at once. I can accept that. I understand that. So that's again, a goal. Right now, I feel like we're sitting good at 20%. And one of the things I get asked a lot is, why does it need to be so high? Our districts have, 10, 15. And the reason being is, one, you guys can take out loans. I can't. Like when we're short for that bond payment, if I want to go to the bank, hurry up and borrow money to pay that, I don't have any authority to borrow. Two, when you look at levies and getting money to make the district whole, you guys have that authority. I don't. I cannot levy. So if I'm short any cash that we need to pay stuff, that falls back on you as member districts. I need to go back and ask you guys for the revenue to take care of our shortcomings. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that we have the money to do the business that we need to do. And the only way I have that is not giving the money back as soon as we earn it. It needs to stay in a fund balance with us so that we can continue to do business as we need to. The other thing that we talked about is self-sustaining programs and being able to have the cash flow that we need. So that's really that on the audit. Take any questions from the board. All right, just a quick little update. SMAC hired a new business manager as of March 1st. I can tell you Amy Wild in my office, who was helping me take on some of that role, is thrilled, happier than anyone else. And to be honest, so am I. SMEC is currently negotiating our certified staff and our non-certified staff contracts. We're hoping I'm gonna meet with them one more time next week. And then Jamie, we have a special cabinet meeting on the
29th,
26th, something like
something like
that,
that.
where
Tuesday.
we're hoping to be able to approve that contract. We're working on with a building committee to build a garage. When we look at transportation, one of the things that we know is that some of our member districts that are having a hard time finding drivers, having vehicles to be able to do that. That's one of the things that SMEC is looking at as we continue to grow, looking at taking on some of the transportation for our level 3, level 4 students. All your level 1, level 2 preschool, that's all yours. But what we can do is help out getting the students from basically from the school to the district. So for instance, Lyle still has to pick up the students, get them here to Lyle School District. We would pick them up from here and get them over to the level 4 program or autism program or whatever program we need. ALC level 4 programs are at capacity. We still have a wait list. COVID has been tough on students, tough on mental health, and hard on teachers as far as being able to control some behaviors. So there's no shortage of students that are needing specialized programs that offer mental health. And then SMEC strategic planning is scheduled for this summer. All of the SMEC board will be participating in that. You guys as stakeholders will have a couple questionnaires and stuff to fill out. We'll continue to go through the process, but I'll bring back all the results and share them with you. Any questions?
The actual facility itself, everything's good, you got the well issue taken care of. and-
Everything's good for now. Looking at it, the well's gonna be an ongoing issue. That's again, when I talked about having that facilities maintenance, long-term facility maintenance in a fund like that, I think I'm gonna need that because again, if the well, we had one collapse on us, well, basically then we were buying bottled water and the problem was the bathrooms. There's no other bathrooms there. So again, shutting down school for a couple of days, if it's a longer fix and we can't get it, we're in big trouble and I need to have the money to pay for that, get that fixed now. Now, luckily, everything was still covered under our warranty, but that's been an issue. As far as other things with the building, it's been going well. It's a very plain building. Everything that we have in it was borrowed and given to us from our member districts, but it's working that way. A lot of grants we've gotten to get up a gazebo, a greenhouse. So it's looking really nice. It's serving the purpose well. I'd be lying if I said I can't wait to see a phase 2 and be able to add some classroom, be able to add some tech programs, be able to add a lounge for the teachers that have basically lunch in their office each day if we just don't have the space. But it's going well. The facilities is good. Anything else that I'm missing? Okay,
Good job.
thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Jamie.
All right. Just a couple of highlights. Looking at student wise, one May 7th is prom. We are hosting it in Carpenter, Iowa. So just down the road. The cost for that was significantly cheaper than anything in Austin. And then the other one also, where's my note here? Credit recovery this, before I get that, the senior trip. Talking with the seniors, I've got a small committee that I'm working with. They're talking with 2 staff members to possibly go to chaperone that. They're looking basically for a short weekend, possibly to Minneapolis, the Twin Cities. I threw out Chicago and other areas. At the time when I talked to them, Chicago still had a lot of restrictions going on, and they really, a lot of them were just like, we'd just be fine with going 3-day weekend, you know, even Saturday and Sunday. So, okay, so that's that. Credit recovery, as Dan said, that's going to be taking place this summer at the SMEC building in June and August. I'm happy to announce, well, there are still students on the list, but the list of students on that list has reduced significantly. Heather gave me an update yesterday, and it was front page and just a handful on the back. So I was pleased that that number has been dwindling. Last week we posted all of the positions for with the outlook of looking at a middle school model. And we've gotten a few applicants. A lot of them are the more popular positions, but it's out there. So we're going to continue to post, you know, if we can update those, and then also post on Facebook and other things. The one thing that some people, I was looking at like, that's a lot. Part of them is because some of the positions we had this year, some of them were out of their license, so we have to post those legally. Next thing is to talk about some AD stuff. I've had to dive into the AD world again after Billy's absence. I just want to first of all say, I think, you know, the letter that I sent and Kane sent out earlier in the basketball season, I think paid off. I think there were other fans, they were policing each other as well, which was very nice to see. I'm not going to mention the other school. We had an AD meeting today and SUIT meeting, and you know, we talked a little bit about that overall. And I was told, I was like, we can't be the worst fans in the world. And there were a lot of them are like, no, what we deal with in other schools, no. So thank you to the fans for their, you know.
I thought it did get better after the letter.
Yeah, I think they got a message like, yeah, we need to keep it in check. We are still looking for a volleyball coach. So if you know of anybody, I tried to think of the other coaching position, but I can't remember what it was.
I think
Is it
we were looking for a junior high softball, but we're not.
right? We will not. So yeah, the numbers are,
She's not. There's no junior high softball.
just won't have a
Not enough
number.
players.
No kids.
No. In talking with the at the AD meeting today, one of the things that they were mentioning, and this is a shout out to our drivers, because, and glad you're here, Don, to hear this, because listening to other schools talk about the struggles that they're having to move games around and make all these changes, and we are very fortunate here that we have 4 drivers plus a few others that are willing to drive on occasion. you know, I know Don, you're like trying to manage it all and it feels like a lot, but in listening to the other ADs today, we haven't made. So they are like literally trying to put 70 kids on a bus because,
Does that make you feel better?
no, it probably doesn't, but
I know, that's what
But they literally- they're talking about like changing games, having junior high softball and baseball on one bus because they don't have a driver to get them. So they are some of the schools. So we're very fortunate.
Don, you do a great job on
Yeah.
that weekly transportation schedule. I just said that this morning, because it's.
I screw up once in a while.
Oh,
no, it's-
Don, I said, I don't know
You
how
do a great
Don
job.
does this, because I mean, it is, you know,
Yep.
pick up at Pacelli this time, pick up at, I mean, I don't know how you do it, but God bless you.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
it's-
She's got the times down to a science.
Yeah.
It is,
Yes.
it is, yeah,
Yep.
I've dealt with her for 2 sports and
yep,
it's nice when you send that out.
it is.
I just
yeah.
flip to my phone, tell the
Yeah.
kids, you know, that's nice. It's
Well,
out.
sorry, I even started one now, a handwritten one for the drivers, just to, so there's another level in there I started to this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's
you-
so
It's been
nice
so
to-
nice.
You've really
Yeah.
gotten that.
It's very organized.
From when I started coaching into now, it's like,
Well, Reed used to kind of put stuff. in
Kind of.
there and off that, and
Yeah.
but it wasn't.
I knew better 4 years ago not to do it myself when she was managing. She's been wonderful.
Well,
Um,
she needs-
speaking of transportation, as you probably know, Austin is considering changing their start times. I don't know how I know there are certain parents that aren't too pleased with it. I've reached out to Kane about what they're looking, because, you know, if they were to change follow the times and everything that Austin's considering, that would greatly affect our athletic. They're looking at starting, I think, is it
Tiered.
Here, yeah.
My
So-
children will start at 7:10 a.m.
Whoa.
and my daughter will start at 9:10.
I do think it's gonna, I just can't,
What time will they be done?
The boys will be done at 1:30.
and obviously there's issues there with babysitting, and that's the concerns that,
I know.
So-
So what time is your daughter done at?
It'll be 3:30, no, 3:45.
2 hours.
so I reached out to, well, short as the bus drivers.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And so Kane is not interested in, and he has been told that there will be a little bit of fluctuation, but not enough to alter the start time, you know, maybe 10 minutes. It should not affect theirs. So I was very pleased to hear that. So,
Yeah.
we're all for that.
We do have that.
SMAC will act as your pickup spot for if you're heading to Lyle, Grand Meadow, Leroy,
Mhm.
wherever you're going. You
Yep.
guys can just pick up from that building. You already have buses going there.
There you go.
And we see it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
If they do this, it'll happen.
They bring them to SMAC Ed Center. You guys
Yeah.
put
It's,
together your times, I'll set it up where the buses can pick up.
I will be driving them.
We
to
already
school.
have Sacred Heart going there, we have Southland there, we have Grand Meadow there. We can work that out quite easily.
What about going back?
Going back, the same thing, we're there late. I mean, I'm typically not there until 6, so again, we can have a drop off point there where you guys are picking them up, so like, right now Sacred Heart drops off, Southland drops off. Right now at SMAC Ed Center, at the end of the day, the parents are waiting in the one row that I gave them. And they pull in, the kids get off the bus, parents wait in their row and off they go. Works quite smoothly. We'll have to do a little bit more orchestrating, but it works. We can
Yep.
work it out quite easy.
the other thing that we talked again today with shot clock. We are, so in 2 years, we have to have a shot clock at both Pacelli and here. We would be responsible, obviously, for the cost of it here, roughly around $4,500 plus then add the electrician stuff. And so what we're looking at possibly doing to see if that we can get a, you know, what I was told today by one of the ADs is that the State High School League, God bless them, they did not anticipate, they had a feeling that that most schools had them. Yeah, So the survey, and Carl, wait for this one.
Oh, boy, the survey?
Then the survey would happen and we were told that one of the board members said we didn't even look at the survey results. So they chose the
Oh,
decision.
but I
Anyway,
took my time to fill that out.
I know. So, and myself too. So,
I hate that.
so the
No.
co-op, we're gonna request that the Southeast Service Co-op tried to work with the Daktronics, Nefco and other systems, say, okay, we have 10 schools that need Daktronics. What would you give us? Because a lot of the costs, the materials are gonna be the same. It's just the transportation and
Mhm,
possibly
mhm.
installation. So we can coordinate that. So we would like to possibly put that in the summer if we can. So we know that
Did you happen to get a bid for the stanchions?
that's the other thing. So we have old stanchions. That's the main backboard and all the stuff.
I'm
What
like,
holds the hoop up? What holds the hoop up? That is
They-
from
yeah.
1957.
And the first time they ever,
It comes out of the wall.
yeah, and the first night that ever was used, it came down, thankfully slowly, and it didn't hurt anybody. But those wires, the cables that are up there are actually what holds it up.
oh my.
So they're, I don't know, I'm not gonna do my math, what, 70 years was roughly. They've been up there for a while, and so we don't know, they get inspected every year, but if there's ever a time to redo them, now is really the time. But we're gonna find out what the cost is. Bill's been looking into that, trying to get some, he told me today that the contact has not got back to him, so he's gonna try to reach out a different angle, but
So do we have funds set aside that?
Oh, yeah. I would.
not really. So that would, it would have to be, it'd have to come back to you guys to approve that, because that would be a allocation of funds.
I did.
I would say probably around, I think Pacelli, it was like $5,000-6,000 for theirs.
Is that
So-
health and safety thing?
I think so.
Could be.
Safety
But
for
I mean,
sure.
right?
If it falls, it could.
Right.
I don't think it would be, but
Well,
Bradley can work his magic on that. So,
I don't know. I
It's
just thought
it's totally a safety.
Mhm.
we have to
factor.
put more stuff up there. I mean, it's from 1957.
Yeah.
So chocolate chip cookies at the bucket installation, hot chocolate chip cookies.
Have to spell a
A
lot.
lot of chocolate.
A lot of cookies.
$1,000 a piece.
Really good cookies.
you might get 2 cookies for it. So just be prepared. I'll keep you updated on what the cost is. Strategic planning, Gail has been very pleased with the results, the number of people that have responded to the survey we did. I'm not sure if every family member did get the Lyle Light, but I know it was put in there, but
I saw it.
the other means that we put out there actually was helpful. But the first meeting is on Monday night. And the last thing I just want to put is, I could easily put this one in the highlights and recognitions, but I just want a shout out to there has been some really stressful days recently, and just because I think, as Dan said, COVID has done a huge number on our students, and the staff take a lot of that burden, all the way to even her desk and mine, and the relationship that we have with the Mower County Police Department, Sheriff's Department, but especially Lyle with Tom is amazing. His way he works with the students is unbelievable. It's just honestly, he should have been a teacher, to be honest with you. But I think he does a
No, we
fantastic job.
Thanks, like a
I know Corey has last week,
He's been in my office a lot.
yeah, it was a stressful week, and kudos to her, and Barb and Heather and Janelle too, just what they do, and sometimes just
You
take-
too, Jamie.
I'm not gonna pat myself on the back, but just the fact that they take the calls and sometimes deflect different things and knowing what's going on. So our staff is extremely passionate, the drivers see these kids in the morning, the first ones, and sometimes the simple hello is what that kid needs.
Mhm.
The staff seeing them in the hallways, greeting them at the door. It's just, there's a different feel than there was a couple of years ago and that's, we oftentimes look at the silver lining, and I think COVID has, I don't know, I think put people in position to, physically in a different position of being there out in the front in the morning to see these kids when they get off the bus and come in, that it starts the day off, and the issues are still there for these kids, and we'll continue to do what we can, but the staff does an impeccable job of meeting those needs emotionally, and so it's it seems like every day it's like, what's next? Where's the shoe's gonna fall now? But but that's what we're here for.
Mhm.
So we're here to make the lives better for these kids, and some days it's it
hard.
stinks, it sucks, but
Mhm.
so, and thank you guys also as a board and the community for the support. And even the SMEC people, it's just we're part of a great team that is here for these kids. So that's just a preview of Monday night. I'll pass it on to you.
Oh, your speech. on Monday.
The kids go through withdrawals when Corey's not there.
Yeah, the announcements
I
were not
go
as
through
exciting.
Withdrawals when I can't give hugs. That's why I have to leave meetings.
The
Either.
announcements were not as entertaining as it was when I had to do it when she.
Some of us were born for the stage.
I know.
Just kidding. That was one of the things I was gonna bring up too, was just talking about how proud I was of our staff. Not was, if, like I
Is,
am. They are really coming together, stepping up. It's amazing. It gets emotional sometimes, but I know, like Dawn, I'm looking at you right now. And even just in the morning when the kids are walking in, and yep, I'm giving everyone those hugs, but she'll come up and be like, hey, notice so-and-so wasn't themselves. It's everyone is noticing. It's every single person is noticing, even through the lunch lines, noticing, or our custodians are noticing. Our custodians notice, ooh, I noticed you had a tough day today. Do you need a hug? I'm the hugger, right? So people, that's how they fix me, is hug me. But everyone's noticing and everyone's coming together, and it's huge. I mean, SMEC, you guys, you and Denise are there when we need you. You're answering phone calls and you're coming in for IEP meetings. Even if some don't show up, you're still driving this way for them. So thank you for that. Okay, enough sappy. Access testing is complete. ACT testing is on April 5th. It's for our juniors. I'm meeting with them again tomorrow. I gave them I pulled them together, and then I gave them a day and a half to get their accounts created, because it's not that hard. Was it that hard?
It must have worked because mine was on it.
Perfect. Carl, I know you're listening, every word.
I wasn't.
I know. He's looking at his
Whatever you
ACT
did
account.
worked.
It worked. Well, I told them they had until Thursday. I'm pulling them in Thursday, and if they don't have it done, they're doing it here. So
There you go.
I said, I'd prefer you get your parents' help than my help. MCA schedules are going to be completed, teacher reviewed, and then those are going out. We are going to do the 3-week model again, because I know in the years past, it was spread out almost like a month. We're not going to do that. We are doing 1 week reading, 1 week math, 1 week science, done. And we're moving on, sending it in and being done with it. So the end of testing is in sight, and I am so excited for that. Conferences. Tomorrow, they are in person, they're on Zoom. We kind of wanted to see how this was going to go for the spring conferences, to see. I'm actually surprised how many are choosing Zoom.
Really?
Thought for sure everyone would want to come in, but they are choosing Zoom.
That is
So,
surprising.
I'm going to do get a percentage of our student body, see how many are actually attending elementary and then middle school, high school, to see how many are attending the conferences, and then to see how many of those are doing Zoom versus in person. So I'm gonna dig back into those math skills. Yes, sir.
So I just was looking at the calendar, and then we're taking them. Are people coming in, parents coming in at 9 o'clock for a conference, or?
Oh, for the elementary ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have our elementary ones
I know, do people?
they can come in
I
for the
know, but-
in-person.
Are we filling them?
Are we filling them? I mean, are
Or
we,
did the percentage get filled?
Oh, that's what we're gonna look at.
okay,
I am gonna look at.
Yeah.
Right now, not necessarily with them coming in
Well, no, I
person,
know,
but
but
they're
like-
filling
okay,
some classes more than others.
okay.
But that is, we wanted to look at that. This was already on the calendar, do it this way. So we're gonna look at it and see if we need to make adjustments next year.
Okay.
Cause
I just-
maybe we only need to do the evening, and, the spring conference, maybe if we have one, it's open house building wide.
I don't know, I
Mhm.
didn't know. That's what they used to do when I was in school. They take a
Oh.
whole day off. And you'd have conference,
Right.
Have it at 9 o'clock. Well, a lot of moms aren't home at 9 o'clock,
Right.
so I was just wondering if they were filling,
Mhm. Yeah.
But
now they
there
will
are
be.
people that work different shifts too. So
Yep,
I mean,
yep.
I get that.
Some come in on their lunch breaks. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
They'll sneak in. So, Jamie mentioned on May 7th is prom. We are bringing back the all-school prom again because it was such a huge hit last year. So
We would love the board to dress up. I just thought of that idea.
find your good jeans, find your good
I'm just
jeans,
kidding.
all-school prom. I think is it the 11th or the 18th, the Wednesday?
I think it's
It's-
18.
18th? It was, yeah, because it was a week and a half after prom. We weren't going to have it before because the girls don't want to wear their dresses before, obviously.
Sure,
So,
oh, yes,
Mhm.
right.
but
Yeah.
we're bringing it back, making some changes just because we can do more. I'm excited. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Items for action discussion. A safe learning plan update.
Well, we've always, I think when COVID started, and ironically, it is 2 years ago this morning when this was the Monday that we did not have school. We chose not to have school. And I think we were all looking for that day we could say, hey, we won and COVID's over and all that stuff. Well, I don't know if we'll ever get there, but the numbers from the county have been dropping. I know I said this the other day, and one of you two is like, hush, don't say that, you're gonna ruin it, but it went from 41% just in middle of January or something like that to literally 5%.
Let's just leave that right
So,
there. Other
Um,
comments, just
yeah,
leave it there.
So we have had,
No,
it's been
don't say it,
solid.
don't say it.
It's been
don't say it,
solid.
Don't say
We've
it.
been good, so.
Yep.
That's all I have to report, because I don't want to jinx it either.
Yep. All right, item B, consider approval of the first reading of 22-23 district calendar.
So what we're asking to approve is just the first reading. It's not an official, but we have had multiple meetings with leadership. Looking at how things have been done in the last few years. So a couple of changes to highlight that are a little different than even this year, and I'll start with the end of the year in May. And we brought the, I think, when we had a little discussion last week, and I brought up the question about the seniors getting done early, and it was funny because all the staff was like, it's kind of what we've always done. So
Mhm.
that's not a really great reason, but so what we've chose is graduation still is the 26th that evening. Actually, we chose that not to be the last day of school, and actually, I think there's some selfishness to it, which is good, because if we're all here working, last day of school, the last thing we want to do is be exhausted by the time graduation starts. So, so the last day of school would be the 31st for K-11. So they would just go into 2 additional days. We know that those 2 days are not strongly academic, but we can also factor in things to do that would be do well with that. Last day of the seniors would be just 2 days prior to their graduation date, that Wednesday. So that would be when the last walk in the school. And then one of the ideas that we had was going now to the beginning of the year in August. We have traditionally, we've been 171 or 172 school days, student days, and then 180 days for full staff. So anything not included in the 171 or 172 is staff development. One of the things that teachers, we brought this idea up to the teachers and they liked it, is having an opportunity with everything, mental health stuff, training, professional stuff, or professional development. The worst day of the year is when they come back and they have to listen to the two of us talk, because when they're thinking about what's going on in their classroom,
Mhm.
I mean, they're worried about getting ready for open house, getting ready for the first day, and they have to listen to me talk about, go through the handbook. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to spend the week before, whatever day they choose, and it might be dictated a little bit by where the cleaning process is in the building, but that's what that August 22nd through the 26th day teacher prep week. That would be one day they would come in, nothing going on except they could spend it in their room doing what they need to do to be prepared for the following week. Then staff development goes through all that stuff. First day of school, September 6th. Then the main thing is then talking conferences. So we this year and the past few years, high school wants their first conference early in the year. in early October. Elementary usually likes to have it in November. So we compromise the end of October. So it would be the Thursday night would be the actual evening conferences, K-12. And then the next day, the K-4 conferences K-4 would not have school and conferences would be going on throughout the day, but the 5-12. This is bearing that we are doing the middle school model. So that's why it's 5-12. The biggest discussion has been on the spring conferences. And Carl, your questions are important because it really, is it worth the time, of that? So we will look at how tomorrow looks and we'll go from there. We might offer some different opinions on that. The one thing we did do, I think I put it on here, is February 17th. So 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We still made it a full day, but just shifted the hours because there might be some people who might be able to leave work early and come down for conferences. So, and being, even though it was a Friday, they were open to it. They had Monday off on that. So, is there anything else that I missed?
No, I was just saying, this one is that 17th, that 9 to 5, that really truly we won't know until after, just to see what tomorrow looks like. The younger you go, more parents are willing to come in.
Right.
Secondary, not so much. So that's where we want to just. Thanks.
High school, but that is a problem.
I
Though. I
know,
mean,
it is.
I don't, nothing against any parent. It's just,
Yeah.
they pay more attention across the board, across the country
Mhm.
in the elementary. And by the time they get to high school, it's a little less. So,
But I also think like I constantly get updates about Hunter all day long about his attendance, how he's doing in school.
Good.
Where Layla, I don't get that much, and that's fine, but like I
Right.
feel like I know what's going on more in Hunter
Yeah.
academically than I do Layla. So that might be why.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we do the grading differently
Yeah.
in elementary, and that's
Which is fine.
across the board,
Yeah.
everywhere does
Yeah.
that way.
And when you get into this class, they tell you, and it's like, okay,
Mhm.
you know,
Hunter every day, all day long, I see what he gets for grade.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's, yeah, that's fine.
For the elementary, you're getting a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
well, and unless they're being
That's not really-
problematic, you're not really
That's something
getting
totally
up-to-date
different.
up-to-date information on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's perfect.
and then one last thing, I forgot, the Wednesday schedule, the teachers have, they said that has been one of the best changes we ever made to our schedule, was just that Wednesday, just the freedom to have meetings.
That's what it's working like.
We had 2 days this year on Wednesdays where we didn't push meetings. It was today and the Wednesday before the fall conferences, because we gave this day for teachers to prepare for conferences after school. Otherwise, we have elementary problem solving meetings, middle school, high school problem solving meetings,
IT
student
meetings.
assistant team meetings, leadership meetings, staff meetings.
Are they mandated to come to them?
Yep, and we're not allowed, no other meetings at 2:00. So from 2 to 3, it is meeting time, and they have stuck to it.
And they've been more like, in the past, if a meeting's going to 4 o'clock, they're looking at the clock.
Mhm.
Now it's like at 3 o'clock, they're still on
They're
duty
like,
and.
oh, I'm still supposed to be here
I can
another
still-
20 minutes anyway.
So
Good, great.
if we could just figure out the bell system, that's a different subject, but,
Mhm.
right, Heather? Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the first reading of 22-23 calendar?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Consider approving the first reading of district policy 515, protection and privacy of people records.
And I sent you guys thank you, Dan. I sent you the red line from the MSBA. This is several years ago since it was approved by us, and they just went through some legal updates. I read this about a week ago, so I'm trying to think back to what nothing really jumped out as anything, but this is the first reading. So again, if there's,
Second? Third second?
I'll second.
Colton.
I don't know.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? School board member comments.
I was gone, obviously, a big portion the last 2 weeks, and so the strategic planning committee, I don't know if you guys even know who was asked and who has said they want to, or who I informed that to. I just saw in Bradley's email, he just gave a rundown of who he asked and, or
Yep.
chat's email, so I don't know what.
We have 4 students.
Mhm.
We have 4 staff, and then Bradley, Corey, and I, and then I think 2 community members.
I have one committee member that
So-
wants to. Is there still an option for them?
I think so,
That
yeah.
would be up to you guys tonight to unofficially, you know, yeah,
So they can break up.
we get more or less, but 4 is kind of the
Mhm.
prime number.
I mean, I
I was
can
getting messages.
reach out to Lynette.
Okay.
On some, that was one of the other names.
I have Ashley Higgins.
Hmm.
Mhm. Sorry, someone was asking questions about it. I was just
Oh,
answering.
that's great. Good. All right, any other comments? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Carl, is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, adjourn 7:02.